Hi, welcome to Module 9, Change Management and Agility. We're talking in terms of an uncertain world, ambiguous world, complex world, an extremely volatile world. And that's why change management becomes extremely important for an agile leader to manage volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I'm Dr. Prabhakar Gantasala, Associate Dean, School of Business, Southern Connecticut State University. The learning objectives for this module, we want to understand the nature of change and master change management principles. We want to also understand, after this module, what are the causes of resistance to change and how do we overcome resistance effectively. Two very important aspects for any change management initiative, very important aspects for agile leaders. There are several change management frameworks that managers, leaders across the globe have utilized. One very important model is Coder's 8-step process, which is a very simple process. And obviously, if you knew how to understand it and use this particular framework to create, initiate, and embrace change and reinforce change in positive ways that create the required outcomes for an organization, you would have really been successful at implementing change management. Now, the 8 steps in Coder's 8-step process is first is create a sense of urgency, form a coalition that is supportive, develop a vision and the right set of strategies, communicate the vision, the change vision itself, remove barriers to action, accomplish short-term wins, build on the change and make change stick, reinforce change, reward change, and make change a habit, a culture for your organization. Now, Coder's 8-step process has been beautifully explained in his book, Our Iceberg is Melting. It's a colony of penguins that live on an iceberg. The iceberg is the organizational turf, if you want to imagine. The penguins are organizational members with a clear set of hierarchy, with top penguins being the top management, middle level penguins being the supervisors, other managers, middle level management, and of course, other huge colony of penguins being lower level management, supervisory cadre, workers at different levels, and frontline workers that you might have. So obviously that's like an organizational hierarchy, a family of penguins living on an iceberg. Now, one of the penguins actually watches and notices changes on the iceberg and notices that the iceberg might be melting. So obviously it has observed from, this is environmental scanning, observation, collecting data, scanning for information. Like this penguin went out there in deep sea under the iceberg and checked out all the kind of damage that the iceberg was going through because of climatic changes and how there were cavities that were being filled with water. And the penguin thought to itself, if the cavities filled with water actually then froze during nights, water when it freezes, it expands in volume, and the iceberg could crack, it could break, taking the entire colony of penguins down with it. So obviously, this is a smart penguin, somebody who is watching the environment, watching the changes. So you need a bunch of dedicated staff, dedicated group of team members who scan the environment, who collect the data from outside, look at competition, look at regulatory changes, watch changes in the macroeconomic space, and come back and report any kind of change that might adversely affect the organization and to be better prepared for such a change. So this penguin comes back and wants to create a sense of urgency. That's the first step in Koto's 8-step process. So explains, the penguin comes back and explains to the top management, the top penguins in the penguin colony, and say, hey, this iceberg is going to melt, it's going to crack, it's going to break under its own weight, and then it's going to kill all of us, it'll destroy all of us. Nobody wants to believe it, so this penguin does a smart thing. It actually gets hold of a bottle that is afloat and it reaches the shore of the iceberg. It picks up the glass bottle, fills it up with water, cocks it, wants to do an experiment to showcase to the rest of the colony that its theory of the iceberg really melting might be a possibility. So it actually leaves the penguin leaves the filled in corked bottle, a glass bottle of water overnight, and when they come back in the next day morning, because the water has frozen due to falling temperatures, the glass bottle has cracked. It's shattered completely. So it's created a strong scientific approach, data-driven approach to showcase that what it thought could be a possibility that the iceberg could melt and break is it could easily happen to the entire iceberg, and it was an existential threat for the entire colony of penguins. So obviously, just not from creating a sense of urgency, the top management understood that this could be a reality, a harsh reality. So they built a coalition. They wanted scouts of smart, brave penguins to go out and see if there's another iceberg that's there. Fresh pastures, greener pastures out there, blue oceans that are out there, new markets that can be scouted in terms of business parlance. So a group of young, brave, energetic penguins volunteer to go and scout in deep seas, braving all the threats that the deep seas pose to them. So when they go out there, they have a vision to find another home. They will have a vision to find another iceberg just in case if there is a crisis. They have two homes to go to and they are not caught unawares. So this is having a vision from the top leadership, building those small teams that can work on specific tasks to look for opportunities that exist out there. The top management also communicated the change vision because it's necessitated because of the changing environment. They cannot simply wait and watch what's going to happen next. And then this small group of penguins, the scouts, which are ready to go and search in the deep sea whether there's another alternative iceberg that they could move and call it a new home for them, come back bruised and battered. But you know what? The whole penguin colony is waiting for them. They cheer them up and they actually celebrate those short-term wins. They applaud each other. That's the sense of cohesion. That's the sense of synergy. That's collaboration. That's appreciation and recognition, and also celebrating short-term wins. They continue to explore, and they find another, iceberg that they could move to, and they build on that change process, and they actually migrate eventually there. And they're not going to stick there because they know the new iceberg could also melt. So looking for opportunities all the time, keeping your mindset open for changing, and being able to adapt, building coalition, building a sense of urgency, having the kind of information and data that can help you take the right decisions when faced with uncertainty. All these things are important aspect of making change a culture, making change proactive, and also making change that much more enjoyable because change is the only constant out there in the world. So that's the Coda's 8-step process and the book Our Iceberg is Melting. There's a lovely video on YouTube which talks about the entire book Our Iceberg is Melting. I would strongly recommend you to watch it. Also, you're looking at the cultural shift in the Coda's 8-step process, the mindset of thinking everything is constant, nothing changes. We are very comfortable. We want to be in our comfort zone. We don't want to change the status quo. I think that's a cultural shift that every agile leader is hoping to achieve for the organization. And also your willingness to adapt and adopt new technologies. I mean, in a day and age where AI and machine learning has been rampant and it's there in every walk of life, many organizations that I've worked in the past have started changing the way they do work. I know, for example, Plastics of America have adopted AI and machine learning in their work processes, and they've adopted AI implementation for achieving greater efficiency. They have managed change proactively. They have actually trained their employees to embrace the use of AI. So I'd remove that sense of fear and remove that sense of resistance towards using AI. So it's artificial intelligence, machine learning has come to stay. It's all about us being capable of using it the right way, also being ethical, taking care of ourselves, protecting our organizations. All these aspects are important. But as a part of that preparation is training that Plastics of America introduced, and for them to be able to prepare their employees for the use of AI in constructive ways and not be afraid of using AI and technology. So, technology adoption, a very critical aspect of agile leaders thinking outside the box, and their ability to create avenues of adopting new technologies in ways that benefit individual growth, organizational outcomes, and achieving the vision of the agile leader. That's the first framework that we can talk about change management. change management always has excited me. As I've transitioned from teaching in India for about 12 years, then moving to New York Institute of Technology, an American university headquartered in New York. I had a chance to go and work in Jordan for 3 years. Beautiful country again, great experience, different cultures, requiring adaptation, also requiring a lot of cultural understanding. Made great relationships there, did some meaningful projects, impactful projects for the community and industry locally in Jordan. I've enjoyed the culture there. And honestly, when you make your first move, you have that apprehension, you have the resistance because you're dealing with uncertainty. But if it becomes a hobby, if it becomes a habit, if it becomes a part of your culture, you will be proactive, you'll look for change, and you'll not be afraid of change. And you will enjoy the change process because you embrace change. And by embracing change, you learn a lot more as an individual. You contribute and make a bigger impact in the world. And that's what has been my experience of having moved to Jordan. After which I moved to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. I worked 7 years there. That was a great experience as well. The vision of the United Arab Emirates leadership, uh, the local, royal family, the vision that they have. It's just incredible. It's very inspirational. And to be part of this great country, United Arab Emirates, work with New York Institute of Technology, have the chance to meet people from all cultures, and be able to contribute to students and the success of local industry. It's just very, very satisfying, extremely enriching experience as an individual. And when you change, you have an opportunity to self actualize and realize your full potential because you learn all the while. And eventually, I made a transition to New York Institute of Technology's headquarters in New York, where I worked for 5 years. Again, a wonderful experience. New York is like the melting pot of the world, a global hub in terms of finance. It's a financial hub of the world. So much of cultural diversity. Great to have the American experience in an American institution, teach students who come from across the globe to understand, appreciate, and immerse themselves in high quality, career oriented professional education that's also American in its own sense, built on innovation, built on intellectual capital. So I just shared my personal experience of why change is such an important aspect. And in the process, I ended up with this associate dean job at School of Business, Southern Connecticut State University, where I continue to realize my full potential, work towards the higher purpose that I've defined for myself in my own life. So we are all capable of agile leadership. We are all capable of creating change in our own lives, inspiring others to do the same. And this is what I've done all my life with companies that I've engaged, the consulting assignments that I've done, students that I could possibly inspire. It's just a very fulfilling experience overall. The second change management framework that I can discuss today here is ADKAR model, the awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. Again, the awareness of the business environment, overall understanding of what's going on in terms of competition, in terms of customer requirements, in terms of technology changes, the kind of expectations customers have. The desire to be able to do better, to add value to customers, to be able to engage stakeholders in a deeper sense, the knowledge, the ability to connect stuff as you observe nature, as you observe the business environment, as you collect data points, you put them all together, you piece them together. Your ability to mobilize change, your ability to mobilize action, and then whatever success you've achieved, can you reinforce it? Can you make sure you don't digress? You're always looking positive, you're looking to do one better than before. And of course, ADKAR model can be used both for individual focus, where you're working one-on-one with individuals to help them enable, understand the importance of change, to be proactive, to create, initiate change process itself, to embrace change. And through change itself, you're able to do better and also overcome that sense of fear while achieving your full potential. The behavioral change is something that's extremely important. I mean, if you took a class with me and if you don't have any intention, inclination to change behavior or your approach to life, you probably haven't changed enough. So to me, when we take a class, when we listen to a lecture, or we engage in a consulting assignment, or we work with coworkers at the workplace, I think the key aspect is to be able to observe and learn from others. And in the process, we become a better version of ourselves, and that's reflected in a behavioral change. So the ADKAR model is to be aware of yourself, the desire and willingness to learn, build that capacity and knowledge that's required, translate that knowledge into competences, the ability aspect of it, and then be able to showcase that in true performance. And we also are self-driven. We are intrinsically motivated. That's the reinforcement that you can give yourself. And of course, any extrinsic reinforcement is always a bonus. The third framework for change management, you know, conditions and processes is the McKinsey 7S model, which is a very interesting model to look at in terms of how you can focus on certain aspects of an organization and make sure you actually ensure the right things for your organization. The McKinsey's 7S model, is a very popular way of looking at change itself. And so the stuff that you are focused on is structure, strategy, systems, shared values, skills, style, and staff. So obviously, first you begin with defining what your organization has to do as an agile leader. You bring your vision. You know exactly what your vision and mission is. You also define shared values, which are extremely important. Based on your vision, mission, and shared values, you create the structure. You also implement your strategies. You create the kinds of teams and collaborations and the systems framework. You have your own leadership style, which could be in this case agile leadership or transformational leader. And then, of course, you have to have the right kind of employees or the staff that can help you mobilize your actions, implement your action strategies, and make sure that your KPIs and goals, overarching goals, are achieved for the company. So it's a very holistic approach. It also has got the system alignment that I just mentioned. And if you are interested, you should watch Our Iceberg is Melting by John Coder. It's available on YouTube. Nice video on the penguins and the story that I just shared with you. You can also watch the change management models, which is also available on YouTube. That will help you understand change management frameworks, including Coder's 8-step process, the ADKAR model, and McKinsey's 7S model. So leading organizational transformation is extremely important for agile leaders. It's as we have always mentioned in prior modules as well. An agile leader is integral to creating a vision, brings in a clear sense of direction, also makes sure that everybody in the organization understands a compelling future. He or she, as an agile leader, sets collective aspirations free, and stakeholder engagement is extremely important, engaging all stakeholders of the organization. Very important to be able to discuss, give them opportunities to participate, tell you what they want, what they look for as an organization, get the buy in so that they can support your activities in terms of time, talent, and treasure. And then the ability to communicate with all these stakeholders in a transparent way, in ways that can build trust and collaborative spirit. Very important for creating that kind of organizational transformation. Any agile leader has to be transformative, and for which bringing a vision, clearly explaining the vision, creating a compelling future, getting the buy in of all stakeholders, building trust based on open communication and transparent communication. Very, very integral to creating organizational transformation. The third aspect of leading an organizational transformation is the ability to implement what you have planned. It's a phased approach. Obviously, you cannot do everything on a single go. So you should know exactly what you would do in year one versus year two, year three. If it's a 5-year plan, what would you do in a 5-year plan? How do you make sure you're making the right progress? How do you track what you're doing is going the way you want it to? What kind of changes would you have to make when the environment around you changes? These are certain stuff that an agile leader is always watching, and his ability or her ability to be able to pick those nuances from the environment and build it into the rollout of the strategies and build out those changes into the action plans themselves. I would strongly suggest you to watch the video Leading Change by Harvard Business Review, again available on YouTube, for you to understand how do agile leaders lead an organizational and the kind of transformational stuff that they would look for in an organization. Now, anybody or any organization, any individual or team or organization that wants to create change, any agile leader that wants to embrace change, is going to have some resistance to change. Types of resistance could be cultural barriers, technical challenges. I mean, we all understand we are different as individuals from the belief systems that we belong to, the values that we share, the kind of assumptions, the kind of artifacts, the symbols, the stories, the rituals, the past experiences, our motivations, our learning. All these aspects affect us, and therefore we are very culturally different. And in the diversity of culture is where innovation lies. So if there is resistance to change because of the cultural barriers, I mean, it's very important that as an agile leader, you appreciate those differences. The diversity itself is a positive aspect. The more you learn about different cultures that you work with, that your organization operates in, the more appreciative you are of different perspectives to the same issue. You also might have technical challenges because there are generational gaps. Technology is advancing so rapidly. Not all of us are prepared for those technical challenges, and that's why when some change has been proposed, you kind of have this resistance to change. As an agile leader, I think it's your responsibility to create the learning opportunities, the training, the information gathering, the information dissemination, refresher courses, and competency building so that can overcome this kind of resistance to technical challenges. There could be also prevention strategies that contribute to resistance towards change. So you could actually have early involvement as a leader, and you should make sure you have multiple communication channels that are used so that you tell employees, you tell members who are engaged in the change process, you make them fully aware, you prepare them both on the knowledge front, both on the skill and competency front. You make everybody aware of it, the importance of it, and present it in a non-threatening manner. I think those are prevention strategies, and you can prevent too much of resistance to change. As response tactics, agile leaders should always address concern, look for feedback, create opportunities for members of the organization to come back and voice their concerns, create support systems that can help individuals or teams overcome change inhibitions and fears, and also create the kind of facilitative environment, reinforcements and reward systems that actually reinforce why change is important, and change is only facilitative and it's not punitive. And so I would strongly recommend a video called Managing Change Resistance by McKinsey. You can watch it. You know why resistance to change happens. It's a natural reaction of individuals as well as teams. We just don't want to break the status quo. We just want to stay in our comfort zone. We don't want stuff to change. And it can come because of culture, it can come because of technical challenges, the inability to adapt, or it's not part of our culture kind of rhetoric. So you could, as an agile leader, prepare organizational members, communicate well in advance, implement some prevention strategies, be involved, engaged as an agile leader, embrace change, and let others see the positive effect of changing, and change being the only constant. You prepare them, train them, let them develop the kind of skills and competences that are extremely important for them to feel comfortable embracing change and doing well in a change environment. Now, change communication, the key is to be able to communicate change properly, the clear rationale why change is happening, or why change is going to be implemented, what's the basis, what's the data that supports change, and what's the skill or competency training that's required. And there should be consistent messaging that change is happening in a phased manner. It's not going to be rapid, it's not going to be top down, it's going to be something that everybody engages in. Communication on the positive effects of change in terms of productivity, in terms of performance improvements, in terms of rewards, in terms of sustainability of the organization, continuity of employment. You have to make your employees and team members feel secure, including psychological safety as well. The communication channels that are integral to change communication, you have to have multiple channels to make sure that everybody understands it and comfortably, in ways that they are comfortable. And also, it should be targeted messaging of those organizational members and stakeholders that are affected by change. You have to, as an agile leader, create feedback loops, do regular check-ins, make those adjustment mechanisms, which are extremely important from time to time, address concerns on a timely basis, provide feedback. Again, the importance of building trust and collaboration within the organization, which becomes an integral aspect of an agile leader's responsibility of making change communication clear, specific, and also present change as something that really helps the organization. I strongly recommend again Change Communication. That's a video by Prochi, and it's available on YouTube, and you have to watch it, and it's a good watching. Another aspect that transformational leaders or agile leaders engage in is about building organizational capacity. What one must understand is when my capacity to perform better it increases, my ability to adapt to change and also be able to initiate change process becomes that much more easy because I trust in my ability. I know I have the skills and competences. Like for example, if I want to be better prepared in integrating AI and machine learning in my organization, it only helps if I build on my capacity. It's just not my capacity. As an agile leader, I have to make sure my organizational members have that capacity too. So building change capacity within the organization also depends on building organizational capacity. Leadership development, build skills, create a mindset that's focused on growth, that's focused on development, empower teams, delegate authority to others who are capable of doing it, uh, make the provision for resources that help build change or implement change, create supporting systems, as I spoke about last time around, training programs, refresher programs, educational, informational programs, on the job training and off the job training programs. All these can only help as support system. Very important aspect if change has been implemented, if it reflects in higher performance, you also want to create reward systems that reinforce change, that appreciate change, that actually make change a permanent thing. You can make change stick, like in the 8-step process that John Cotter speaks about. Two very good videos that again reiterate what we have been discussing so far. Building Change Capacity by MIT and Change Management Simulation, another video available, both videos available on YouTube for you to watch. So building capacity for the organization, a very important responsibility of an agile leader. Now, once you've created the capacity, once you know and have communicated the importance of a particular change, you've built in the systems that can support change, you want to measure how successful you were in implementing change. So the key metrics for measuring change success are adoption metrics. Suppose we have a new technology that's been implemented, the usage rates. Has the new technology been used by more number of stakeholders, including our employees? Behavioral change. Are employees much more productive? Do they showcase greater energy, greater involvement, more engagement in organizational meetings and activities? The behavioral change is a very important metric of how successful we were in implementing change. Skill development. Do organizational members do they have the right set of skills, not just for current jobs but also future jobs? The business impact. How have we improved as an organization in terms of efficiency, productivity, also say increased sales, revenue, increased reports of customer satisfaction, testimonials, retention of past customers, retention of previous clients, customer loyalty, building reputational capital of the organization, the brand building aspects as well. Employee experience. Are the employees that much more engaged? Are they more satisfied? Would they want to continue with us because they embrace change, they like what we are doing as an organization, and they're not leaving? The turnover rates are getting lower, and their retention rates are higher because they enjoy working at our institution. 3M is a great example, a great company that's based on continuous change, continuous innovation, the opportunity to work in heterogeneous teams. 3M provides 15% of the time, offers organizational resources for these teams to pursue product improvements, product ideas, and therefore 3M has hundreds and thousands of patents, one of the most innovative companies. And for them, change is a way of life, is a cultural aspect. And everybody who works with 3M report greater levels of engagement, learning, satisfaction, and they would like to continue to work at 3M. There are some challenges that agile leaders can face while trying to implement change, bring in change, or overcome resistance to change. What are the challenges? The first type of challenge is change fatigue. So when you have too many things that you're trying to bring in and change at the same time, it can be very tiring. It can create change fatigue, not just for the agile leader who plans to bring this, but for other members who are engaged in trying to do too many things too quickly. So you want to create a change portfolio that you would want to manage and plan change in a phased manner, not to hope to bring all changes happen at the same time, but bring it one step at a time. I think that's a wonderful way of trying to know what's what's possible, what are the time frames, do we have enough resources, and not get into the problem of change fatigue. The second type of challenge that can happen in this scenario when you're trying to create a transformation is a lot of resistance from the middle level management because they bear the brunt of all the responsibilities of communicating change, of mobilizing change, of resource utilization and reporting back process improvements, performance improvements, and efficiency improvements. And so, middle level management resistance can be immense. So if you have an early engagement strategy as a leader, you give them lead time to prepare for change, to understand change, to become familiar with technology changes or process changes or policy changes or structural changes. They are much more, on board, and they'll be happy to help in implementing change. The third type of change challenge that you can have in change implementation is sustainability. So obviously we can create a lot of change too quickly, including culture, policies, procedures, initiatives, activities. We could do a lot of stuff, but the key is to be able to sustain such a change. If you don't have resources and institutionalized mechanisms in place, so certain changes that you have created are not going to be sustainable. Things can fall apart. A good example of reinforcement mechanisms is Toyota's continuous improvement. They have a very a strong continuous improvement kind of culture. They reinforce change. They are not going backward. They build on from strength to strength. They set new benchmarks and they outdo themselves. A good, strong recommended video here is Overcoming Change Challenges by the Boston Consulting Group, available on YouTube for you to watch. There's another recommended video, Change Management Success, again available on YouTube, which I would strongly recommend. There are other additional resources that you might find useful. Again, stuff that we already referenced in this module, Leading Change by John Cotter, Our Iceberg is Melting by, again, John Cotter. Great step-by-step framework for implementing change. It's a good read. You can watch the video by John Cotter, Our Iceberg is Melting, on YouTube. AdCar by Jeffrey Hyatt, another good read that you should be able to learn from. There are several online courses. Coursera gives a course called Leading Organizational Change. edX has Change Management Leadership. Good courses that you might want to consider doing if you need to go deeper into change management. Certain communities like Association of Change Management Professionals, Change Management Institute, great resource places for material, for research, for case studies, for company examples, and it'll only help you if you use these additional resources to understand the nature of change, to also understand how important change is for organizations, and the importance of change in the life of an agile leader, because an agile leader using change management strategies by trying to initiate change, support change, reduce and manage change resistance properly, and measure change management success from time to time can be extremely transformational. So I would strongly recommend for you to focus on how you could be inspirational, set a role model for others to follow, and also embrace change in their path, in their individual journey, as well as their ability to influence others in teams in an organizational context. Change also becomes extremely important because today's organizations work in an environment that's extremely volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So it's key for organizational units, whether it's at the top, middle, or lower level management, or whether it's individuals or teams that have to scan the environment, look for input, connect the dots, analyze data, have the visualization models and tools in place so that you take informed decisions related to any stuff that you want to change in the company so as to be better prepared in answering all the kind of turbulence that you see in a business environment. With that said, I'm actually taking a little bit more time to explain how important change is because to me, every organization must change. They always say change or perish. So you have to take the route where you are willing to change, you create a culture of change, because having a culture of change can only help and support innovation in your organization, can keep you ahead of competition, and you can sustain the competitive advantage that you have, whether it's product innovation, process innovation, service innovation. It could be business model innovation. And if you're able to adapt to new technologies quickly as an organization, can get everybody on board, and build that kind of culture that values change, that values innovation, that values learning on a long term basis, your organization basically is primed for sustainability, for resilience. And even during times of shock, the systems are not going to be paralyzed. They're going to be able to get stronger, react appropriately, and continue to grow and serve clientele. Thank you.